What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Hendricks versus Thompson. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Artem Lobov versus Alex White. And I think Alex White is just the better technical striker. And I think he's the much better grappler. I think Artem, he looked good on the season, but I think that's just one of those things where some guys just look better on the show. Like I said during the Ultimate Fighter finale, a guy with a record of like 10-10 is obviously not that great, and I feel like now his record's like 10-11, or maybe it was like 11-11 now. So it's just hard to see consistency in a guy like that. I just think he looked good on the show, so I'm gonna pick Alex White by submission. Next is Mickey Gall versus Mike Jackson. And if you watch the Dana White looking for a fight thing, then Mickey Gall's this guy. He's 1-0. He won his first fight by knockout, and they're giving him an easy fight because they want him to fight CM Punk. So I think he's going to win this fight by TKO. They got in some scrub with another 500 record, just like Artem. So, like I said, first round TKO for Mickey Gall. Next is Noad Lahat versus Diego Rivera. And I think that these guys are pretty similar. I just feel like Noad Lahat just has a much better grappling background, and I think he'll be able to take this fight to the ground and probably win by submission sooner or later. So it just looks like a little bit of a mismatch, especially when you look at the grappling. So I'll pick Noad Lahat to win by probably first or second round rear naked choke. Next is Ray Borg versus Justin Scoggins, and these are two up-and-comers, but the difference is Ray Borg's looked a lot better. Justin Scoggins kind of has been alternating wins and losses throughout his time in the UFC, as where Borg's on a really good run. I think this will be like Borg's last couple of fights. I think he'll be able to take it down, just show better grappling, and eventually he'll either win by a dominant 30-27 decision or he'll get a submission when Scoggins makes a mistake. So I got Borg. Next is Derek Lewis versus Damian Garbrowski. And I'm going to pick Damian. I think that he just looks more well-rounded. There's a good chance that Derek Lewis could knock this guy out, but I feel like Damian's been looking pretty good on the regional circuit, so I'll say he wins by probably submission. Next is Josh Berkman versus KJ Noons, and my one and only fear with this fight is I don't know how Josh Berkman's going to look cutting down to 155 for the first time. As long as he's still got chin durability and conditioning, he should be able to win this fight. But if the weight cut is too much, then we're going to see him get lit up. Especially with the IV ban now, it's harder for guys to just cut weight like that. I'm still going to pick Berkman, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if KJ pulls knockout because of him cutting too much weight. But I'm still going to have faith, and I'm going to say Josh Berkman wins by 30-27 unanimous decision. Next is Mike Pyle versus Shane Spencer, and Shane Spencer's looked alright in the UFC. I feel like he has some inconsistencies with, power in his punching and his overall grappling. I think Mike Pyle is definitely getting older and he's not as, good as he used to be, but I still feel like Pyle's got a win or two in him. I think eventually he'll be able to take this fight to the ground, or he'll be able to clinch up with this guy and just land with good Muay Thai. So I'm going to say Pyle wins by late submission. Next is Misha Kurunov versus Alex Nicholson. And I'm going to pick Misha. I think he's a good up-and-comer from Poland. And his opponent is just kind of a decent striker. I think Misha's really well-rounded. So I just feel like Misha's going to be able to get this fight to the ground and win by submission. I don't know too much about either of these guys. It just looks like Misha's more well-rounded. So that's the main reason why I'm picking him. Next is Joseph Benavidez versus Zach Makovsky. And I'm going to pick Makovsky. And I know that's kind of an upset, but I feel like if you look at Joseph Benavidez' fight with, especially with Timothy Elliott, he really likes to move forward, and that makes him really susceptible to takedowns to guys who have really strong wrestling. And I feel like Zach Makovsky has that. I feel like Zach Makovsky has the wrestling to hit takedowns whenever Benavidez starts to go after him super hard. And I feel like that's going to be his game plan, is to fight exactly like how Timothy Elliott kind of fought. Just fight really far on the outside, don't really brawl with this dude. And whenever he charges at you, which he does a lot, because that's just his striking style, to move forward super aggressively, is to hit takedowns. And I think his submission defense is better than Timothy Elliott's too, so I don't think he'll get caught in that guillotine. So I just feel it's going to be this rinse, repeat thing where he's just going to be able to strike with him and hit takedowns whenever he wants. I know that's kind of optimistic, but that's just, for some reason in my mind, that's just how I see this fight playing out. So I'm going to pick Zach McCoskey by 30-27 decision. Next is OSP versus Rafael Cavalcante, and I think this fight's a lot closer than people think just because these two guys have the same strengths and weaknesses. They're both really good strikers with a lot of knockout power. They both don't have great conditioning, and I think OSP is better wrestling, but I think Rafael has better takedown defense. So it's just kind of comes down to who you think the better striker is, and I think overall they're about even, but I just feel like OSP has the advantage in height, range, and just, you know, what is it? I can't think of the word, but I think, you know, height and range, he's definitely got the advantage, and I just feel like he'll be able to win with like a body kick or something pretty early in the first, so that's how I've got it. I just feel like OSP is going to win by knockout in the first minute. But like I said, this fight is really close. I think a lot closer than people are thinking, just because, like I said, they both have the exact same strengths and weaknesses. I think it's just who has the better game plan. But I'm still going to pick OSP by TKO. Next is Roy Nelson versus Jared Rosholt. And it's weird how people are completely counting out Roy Nelson in this fight. I've never seen a fight where Roy Nelson, even when he's tired, he doesn't not fight back. You know, people make fun of him for being really fat, but I've never seen a fight where he just completely stops fighting. As where Jared Rosholt, if you look at all of his wins, his last like 3 or 4, he'll win the first 2 rounds and then basically gas so hard he basically does nothing. And I think it's so weird that people are completely counting out Roy Nelson, because if you look at the best example is Jared Rosholt's fight against that one big dude, Timothy Johnson, where he was owning him for 2 rounds with his wrestling, and in the third he basically barely escaped getting knocked out. And I think that he's going to do the same thing to Roy Nelson. I think the first 2 rounds he'll be able to hit takedowns whenever he wants and kind of grind on him. But come the third, Roy's going to be able to stuff him better, and then he'll probably win by knockout. I just think it's so weird that people are completely counting out Roy when I feel like Roy is showing consistently that he can fight hard even when he's gassed, and Jared Rosholt will completely stop being offensive once he gasses, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. So I got Roy by 3rd round knockout. Next is Johnny Hendricks versus Stephen Thompson, and Stephen Thompson's really exciting, but his biggest problem is without a doubt the overall grappling game, and I wouldn't even say it's a problem. I think he's getting better, but the problem is that he's fighting Johnny Hendricks, who is, you know, levels above him in terms of grappling, and you know, and I think Johnny Hendricks said it best in the countdown to this fight card is he's fought really great strikers. He's fought Matt Brown, he's fought Carlos Condit, he fought Martin Kampmann, and he's fought Robbie Lawler twice. So it's not like this is something different for him. The only difference is he's fighting a guy who's not as good as a grappler as those last 4 or 5 guys I just mentioned. So I think this fight will be like those fights, but even easier for him to win, because he's basically fighting a guy who's a little bit better of a striker than those guys, but nowhere near as good as a grappler as those guys. So I've got Johnny Hendricks probably winning by late TKO just from ground and pound. Like I said, I just feel like this is a mismatch because, like I said, even if Stephen Thompson is a better striker, it's not like Johnny Hendricks hasn't fought great strikers before. So, like I said, I just think his wrestling is too much, and he's going to win by late TKO. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.